Hello. Today I'm just doing a quick video on a bit of nice Skylake overclocking here, and just really why a Z170 board, even a cheap one like this, is a better option than a Z270 board for a budget gaming system. So what we've got here, as you can see, is an ASRock Pro 4. It's a ATX board, has 2 slots, M.2, 4 memory slots. It has fairly decent I/O, not the fullest, but it's alright. There's a bit of a gap there, but whatever. As you can see, it's pretty much brand new. Picked this board up for £50, so that is the first point. Z170 board, so you can overclock both locked and unlocked processors on this board, and it was only 50 quid. So as you can see, it's a bit thinner than a standard ATX board, which will come out to here. Not that that matters. So all we've got in it at the moment is some G-Skill Trident Z memory, which you can see there. It's just 3600 C16B die, not really required for this system. I've just stuck a GT610 and we've got a Fantex heatsink on there. Now for the CPU, we've got a i3 6320. It doesn't matter whether you have an i3 6100 or a 6300 or a 6320, this is going to work basically the same. You can see here we're running the Pro 4 on a 3.7 BIOS. I don't know what the latest one is, but this one works okay for now. And the memory is just currently at 2133. It's completely stock. All I've done is put the CPU in, reset the defaults and turned it on. So we're just going to do a quick Cinebench run. So if you were to get a Z270 board or a B250 board, this is pretty much what you'd be stuck at. You might, on a Z270 board, you'd be able to overclock your RAM, but with this locked CPU, you would be stuck at the stock speed of 3.9 GHz, and you wouldn't be able to go any higher. So this motherboard has a nice little feature called ASRock SkyOC, which you might have heard of, which allows you to do base clock overclocking on locked CPUs. So obviously in this case, with a locked i3, we should be able to get this CPU speed higher on a cheaper motherboard than even a B250 or a Z270. So this board doesn't support SLI, but like I say, it's a budget board, so you're probably not going to be running SLI. So the stock CPU with stock memory, you'd be stuck at 428. Now if you have got an i3, say a 6100, which is a lot slower at stock, this is going to make a bigger difference, because this one's 3.9 at stock. As you can see, it's fairly decent, but as you can see, there's a Pentium G3258 and a FX 4130, sort of within the same range as this CPU in Cinebench. And obviously if you've just spent a fair bit of money on your Skylake i3, you don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to just reboot the system here, and you'll notice when we reboot, in the bottom corner down here, it's going to say press X to enable SkyX OC boost, I think it is. So I've just pressed X on the keyboard down here while it was on that screen, and then we're going to go press delete to get into the BIOS. You can see the little ASRock logo has gone slightly different as well. It's gone yellow with a bit of a star thing through it. and you'll notice the CPU speed is now 4.2, which is a nice little increase. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to put the fan in performance mode, and we're going to press F6 on the keyboard to go into the advanced menu, which you can see here. So obviously the stock speed of this CPU is 3.9, which you can see there, and its current speed is 4.2. Now this is just like an auto overclock that the board sets itself. It does also enable you to overclock via the base clock though. So it has also underclocked the RAM again to 2000 MHz. So let's have a look what it's done first. So as you can see in here, it's actually disabled all of the C states. This is in the advanced tab and in CPU configuration. And this is the most important bit here. The CPU microcode has been made an older version to allow the CPU to overclock via the base clock. Because on the later versions of this microcode, Intel have locked out the base clock overclocking for the locked CPUs on Skylake. So that is basically what the board's done. If you get an ASRock OC Formula, which is a £200 board, which is 4 times more than this, actually has a little drop down menu where you can select the microcode to do this just straight from within the BIOS without this tool. So anyway, we'll go on CPU configuration, and we can see to get this 4.2 GHz and 2000 on the memory, it set the base clock to 107.6. It set the memory to 2008 at 1433 with 2T and a 16 down there. And voltage wise, it's set 1.35 volts and 1.3 on the PLL and 1.2 on the SA voltage and 1.1 on the PCH voltage manually. So it's set all of these voltages for you. So I know for a fact that my chip is a bit better than this. This is just a baseline overclock. So if you just want to do a one-click overclock, it does 4.2, 1.35. Now that's not great for me, so I'm going to go 1.33, 335, and I'm also going to up my CPU frequency further to 115.5, so it's just over 4.5 GHz, like that. And you'll notice the memory speed goes up and down with the base clock as well. So this is actually the CPU speed, that's the cache speed, that's your base clock, that's your memory speed. So we also want to change the memory. Now this memory is 3600 1616 36. It's quite expensive, so I'm not expecting anyone to be using this CPU in a budget motherboard like this to run 3600, and unfortunately this board can't run at 3600. On the box it says only 3200 plus. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a nice conservative 3080, but what we are going to do is set the timings manually to 14, 14, 32, and we're going to set the command rate to 1T, and we're also going to set this one down here to 14, and this is the very important bit, the TRFC down here. You can see stock, that is 350, which is really high, and even if you change these down from say 18 or 16 or whatever it sets them at stock, your memory performance may not improve, and that's because this TRFC will be way too high. So I'm going to set mine to 220. So, and then voltage wise on the memory, it's stock at 1.35 volts, which is the XMP, but I'm just going to stick in 1.4. It's perfectly safe to use up to 1.45 volts on Skylake for daily usage, but I only need 1.4 volts to get these timings to work at this voltage with this speed on this board. Now if you have slower memory, I suggest you try to get to around your target speed. So if you have 2666, obviously you'll go in here, and when it was on 2000 you'll try and get, say, 2619 or 2774 working. But in this case I'm going for the full 3083. It will let me go higher, but unfortunately it doesn't work any higher, and I think that's a bit optimistic. So we will boot at these settings now. So just press F10 and enter to save and exit. Now the only problem is with base clock overclocking is you can't see your temperatures within Windows anymore, which I'll show you once it boots up. And we also will not be able to have the C states working, so it won't boost back down again to its because usually it like boosts up and down if you have the C states enabled or disabled. So you can see the ASRock logo looks a bit different there. Usually if you haven't got the SkyOC on, it's just plain white, and as soon as you enable it, it goes that yellowy colour, so you know you've got it enabled. So I'll just change the background colour quickly here. So we'll open up Cinebench and we'll set that off running, and while it's running we'll just open CPU-Z. So as you can see here, we're now running at 4.5 GHz on 1.312 volts after the V droop of this VRM, which isn't too bad. Obviously we're still running the same motherboard, but the memory is now at just over 3000 MHz with the 14141432, and it also shows the TRFC, which is a very important one that we put in. So now you'll see the increase in the Cinebench score in a minute. So if you were running this on a Z270 board, which would probably cost you £100 even for the cheapest one, you'd be looking at well, no overclock, 420ish. And same if you got a B350 board, or a B250, so which is effectively the same price as this Z170. So look at that, 499, near enough 500. We opened up CPU-Z obviously, so we're not running quite optimal, but 499, that's close enough to 500 for me. So let's have a look what we're up with now. You see we're getting up to about where a slower i5 2550K is, so probably an old i5 at about 4 GHz, but obviously that performance increase is for free, and well, you've just got a Z170 board instead of maybe a B250 board or whatever. So yeah, that's all I wanted to show you really. Just a quick little video while my Ryzen board is dead. So I was just having a play with this. It was pretty cheap, so I thought I'd test it out. Now if you have an i5, and say you have an i5 6400 I think it is, they're only 2.7 GHz stock, or yeah, 2.7 stock I think, and you did a similar base clock overclock like this, maybe up to 120 or 130 on the base clock, it could make a huge difference to your Cinebench score and also your games. So yeah, I'd highly recommend picking up a cheap Z170 over a B250. So if you enjoyed this video, you can click the like button, and hopefully the next video will be some liquid nitrogen action with my Ryzen 5 and Ryzen 7 CPUs. So you've got that to look forward to, and I'll also be using the shiny new G-Skill Trident Z memory with the Ryzen chips as well, which should improve my scores a lot. So I'll see you then, and yeah, that's it.